Otsukare-sama desu. Hi, Danny here. Been a while, hasn't it? As you can see, I finally finished the character stills I mentioned in one of my earlier videos. A whole year later. And it only took a final project to pull them out of me. Anyway, have you ever had a lucid dream before? It's the experience of knowing you're in a dream as the dream is happening. For example, imagine you're walking in the forest in the middle of the night, and suddenly, you start running, and suddenly, once you're safe inside the building, you realize, wait, I'm dreaming. And from there, you can do whatever you want. These dreams happen during the rapid eye movement stage of sleep, or REM for short. This stage gets longer as the night progresses, which leads to having longer and more vivid dreams the closer you are to waking up. If you've ever woken up right after a really intense dream, there's a great chance it happened in the AM hours of the night. While this state can be used to goof off and live out your fantasies, did you know it can also be used to aid in your mental health as well? Lucid dream induction training has been shown in studies to have a positive impact on mental health and well-being. Unfortunately, a lot of people are also fed misinformation. I'm not a sleep scientist myself, but I don't want to spread any more misinformation about lucid dreams than there already is. I'll leave my links to the sources in the description. If I find out I've accidentally said something false, I'll correct myself in the description and a pinned comment. Lucid dreams have been a great interest of mine for the past, holy crap, 5 years now? It's nice to finally make a video talking about them. To be clear, this video is mostly going to be talking about benefits of lucid dreaming, rather than how to actually lucid dream, since what I'm about to cover in this video seems to be far less talked about than methods of actually inducing a lucid dream. However, I might make a video about that too in the future, so stay tuned. Without lucid dreams, I genuinely wouldn't be the same person I am today. Anyway, the practice of lucid dreaming extends all the way back to ancient Tibetan Buddhism. According to Charlie Morley, authorized to teach lucid dreaming by the Kagyu School of Tibetan Buddhism, within the practice, there's what's known as dream yoga. It's a form of lucid dreaming meant to help bring the practitioner to enlightenment, which has been practiced for at least 1,000 years. However, it wasn't until 1913 that the term lucid dream was even coined. It wasn't even until the late 1970s that they've been scientifically proven to be real. Within the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, it's believed that by training the mind to be conscious during the dream state and gaining mastery over the mind, that this mastery will carry over to death as well. Once the lucid dream has been achieved, this state can become a place to work on spiritual growth, allowing mindful awareness, compassion, and dissolving mental tendencies that are negative. The lucid dream state can also become a place to prepare for death, as the state of dying is believed to be dreamlike in nature. However, even if you aren't religious or spiritual, lucid dreams can still provide a beneficial use in day-to-day life. A study conducted by Psychol et al. In 2019, entitled "My Dream, My Rules: Can Lucid Dreaming Treat Nightmares?" demonstrated a negative correlation between lucid dream induction training and nightmare frequency, albeit with a smaller sample size. However, since then, a pilot study conducted in 2024 by Dr. Garrett Young, that I'll describe later in the video, indicates some incredibly promising results with regards to reducing PTSD symptoms. An article by the name of Nightmares, Mindfulness, and Lucid Dreaming by Macêdo et al. Was published in 2022, comparing two studies on the relationship between nightmare frequency and two components, mindfulness and lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming was found to have a positive correlation with mindfulness, which was found to have a negative correlation with nightmare frequency. While it did find that lucid dreamers tend to have more nightmares, that's also because the more often you have lucid dreams, the more often you tend to remember your dreams in the first place. When you take this into account, it's only logical that you'd also remember more nightmares. According to Michelle Carr in a 2024 Scientific American article titled "The New Science of Controlling Lucid Dreams," in some cases, merely becoming lucid and knowing that there's no real danger can provide some relief from nightmares. However, your actions after you gain lucidity have even more potential to provide relief if you don't decide to immediately will yourself to wake up. In some cases, it can take a bit of self-control so that you don't wake yourself up from the excitement of being lucid, But once you're able to keep up the lucidity, you can directly confront the thing that's making you uncomfortable and change the ending of the dream. This can be done in many ways, but Charlie Morley advocates for a more loving method of facing the monster in your nightmares in his book, Dreaming Through Darkness. Hugging it, whether literally or metaphorically. If it's a situation rather than a person or a monster, this trauma can be integrated through accepting it through nonverbal means, like telling yourself it wasn't your fault or whatever other statements are necessary depending on the nightmare. Whether it's because of a mental illness or a physical one, nightmares can happen for many reasons. Sometimes it can be the mind's attempt at preparing itself for a future threat. Other times it can be a beat-by-beat replay of a traumatic event. However, the trauma can manifest as something more symbolic, as scary events that can still symbolize how your trauma makes you feel. However it manifests, it's important to try to gather the courage to confront it rather than simply willing yourself to wake up or running away. Both in the aforementioned book and in his other book, Dreams of Awakening, Charlie talks about what's called the shadow, a term coined by Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung to describe the parts of ourselves that we reject, disown, or deny. Not all of it is negative or harmful, however. The shadow encompasses anything about ourselves we're unwilling to accept or love, whether that be your spirituality, your sexuality, or even creativity. With the power of lucid dreaming, this shadow can be integrated by finally showing some love and acceptance to these repressed facets of our psyche. Such facets can also include trauma we don't want to face or are unwilling to remember. In 2024, a pilot study conducted by Dr. Garrett Young at the Institute of Noetic Sciences in California tackled the question of how effective lucid dream induction training was at helping treat severe PTSD symptoms in veterans. Charlie Morley himself taught the veterans how to lucid dream, as well as what to do within the lucid dream. The results of the study came out incredibly promising, with 85% of the participants getting their PTSD down to a level where it was considered below the threshold of even having PTSD to begin with. All the participants experienced a decrease in their symptoms and recalled fewer nightmares, even maintaining this remarkable improvement upon a 4-week follow-up. In Dreams of Awakening, Charlie documents responses of some of the veterans, with one saying she finally felt safe in her dreams for the first time, having gone from dreading sleep to actually looking forward to it. Although the science behind why trauma integration through lucid dreams works so well isn't fully understood, Charlie Morley explains 4 hypotheses that could potentially explain the reasons behind the results of the studies. Norepinephrine, aka noradrenaline, is a stress chemical found within the brain. It's often present in small amounts while we're awake. However, while we're in the REM stage of sleep, it's completely absent. This would allow for the brain to safely process traumatic memories without the risk of re-traumatization. While a person has PTSD, however, the amounts of norepinephrine are higher at all times, including REM sleep, which can make the space within the dream not feel safe when it actually is. Once the dreamer with PTSD is lucid, however, these stress hormones drop upon realizing that nothing within the dream can truly harm them. In the case of someone with PTSD, the non-lucid nightmares are actually less beneficial for processing trauma as a result, and studies involving stress hormone saliva samples seem to indicate that this is the case. Another hypothesis is that when you're in a lucid dream, the brain thinks you're awake. When we dream, the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain that houses the sense of self, is turned off. This allows you to dream that you're the Queen of England or Elton John. However, once we realize we're dreaming, the prefrontal cortex is switched on, and the sense of self is restored. The nervous system doesn't differentiate between lucid dreams and experiences that happen while you're awake. Since this is the case, the brain may think that by confronting the trauma in the dream, you have also done this in real life, and thus rewires its neural networks to reflect this change. As previously mentioned, The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that houses the sense of self. The amygdala is the part of the brain that allows someone to feel fear and aggression. Trauma specialist Dr. Bessel van der Kolk once stated that for trauma to be integrated, the part of the brain that was knocked offline by the trauma has to be brought back online, as well as the amygdala, which had been dysregulated, to be regulated. In a lucid dream, you're doing exactly that. By becoming lucid, you stimulate the prefrontal cortex, and by integrating the trauma, you regulate the amygdala. The last hypothesis is the stuck record theory. Because of the elevated stress hormones found in PTSD, in some cases, the brain isn't able to use REM sleep to integrate traumatic memories like it normally would. Despite this, it attempts to do so anyway, causing it to get stuck in a loop, thus causing recurring nightmares. The act of becoming lucid and choosing to stay in the nightmare rather than wake up is enough to lift the needle off the broken record, so to speak. By doing so, you allow the trauma to be expressed and witnessed, finally allowing the trauma to be released and integrated. As someone who's had hundreds of lucid dreams in their lifetime, I too can attest to the power of a lucid dream with regards to its potential to helping with mental health. I'm fortunate enough to not suffer from PTSD or any other similar mental illness, but it's certainly helped me in other facets of my life that I was struggling with, and without being able to lucid dream, I wouldn't be the same person I am today. It's truly just a marvel of how much potential lucid dreaming has to be a powerful form of therapy, and I just hope that other people can also one day experience this extraordinary healing power of lucid dreams that we're just beginning to understand. This video actually spawned for a research essay that I had to write in class. It was fun making all the visuals for it, which I hope kept y'all engaged. If I make more videos like this, I might play around more with them. I grew up watching many storytime animators, and even though I can't animate, I wanted to try to make videos in a similar style. If you stuck around this long, thank you so much for watching this video all the way through. Until next time.